Guys, good morning, friends. It is the season finale of The Breakdown. Today, you're going to find out who Jon Snow is actually related to, what happened to that smoke monster, and which queen is going to sashay away for the final time. It's going to be so great. Real quick, I want to take a chance to say thank you to all of you who have watched over the last few weeks or months. It has been a joy to be able to sit here and talk with you and encourage these tough conversations in our daily lives. As normal folk, there's one major way that we can make a difference in the world, and that's by raising our voices. You see that time and time again, that by speaking out on things that we believe in, we get people's attention and we can change things. And that's been what we've been doing, and it's been great. And we're going to be back in August to raise our voices some more, so stay tuned. Also, fun announcement time. We're turning this show into a podcast. That's right, we're gonna convert some of the episodes that you've already heard, and we're gonna start releasing those in the next few weeks. And then we're also, come August, we're gonna be releasing all of those as a podcast so that you can listen to our pretty little voices whenever you want. Isn't that great? I'm gonna annoy you all the time. It's gonna be wonderful. Okay, guys, now that you're all super excited and ready to roll, let's introduce our panelists for this week. Welcome, everyone.
Hello. Hello.
First off, joining us this week, we have Rachel Duvall, who is an actress, theater artist, and an adolescent and early college therapist. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. We love having people who know more than I do, which is basically everyone, but you know. Next, we have the composer of off-Broadway works such as Single Rider the Musical and Blatantly Blaine, a family musical. She sings, she acts, and she is a bop writing machine. We have Amanda Darkangelis.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. And last but not least, we have the wickedly talented Giselle Razim. Is that joke still funny? Does that still hit?
I don't think so.
I was like, this is like 10 years old. So like,
I did too.
Like, what is he even doing? That's like, doesn't make sense. We have Jessica Ryan, everyone.
Hey, I feel like we need to get like applause sound effects and play them here when we introduce everybody.
So that's dangerous because I'm just gonna like applaud myself every time I talk. Anytime I'm running the show, I'm just gonna be like, that was funny, applause. So guys, welcome. We got Jess coming in from Missouri, and Rachel and Amanda are coming in from their parents' houses. We're just hopping in from all over the place this week.
Hey, technology.
Yeah.
Yay, technology. It's super cool. One thing I should probably say is we've, through these episodes, been using this fun app called StageTEN that helps us do all of this live streaming, and it's been super cool, and they've been super great and have worked with us on glitches and like have been wonderful this whole time. So,
user errors.
and user
when we
errors.
fuck it up.
Yes. So thanks to them for helping us with that. Guys, so before we get into our conversation today, I like starting off by just talking about fun stuff. So since the breakdown is about to go on summer break, I was wondering, what do you guys have going on this summer that you are looking forward to? What is your like one fun, like maybe vacation-y thing, maybe work thing that you're looking forward to this summer? Jess, you start us off.
Ooh, well, right now I'm in Missouri and I'm playing Mrs. Bumbreak in a production of Peter and the Starcatcher that is so fabulous, and the cast is so wickedly like creative and just amazing. The guy playing Lord Astor, Brian Myers Cooper, his husband Orville, was in the original Broadway cast, and so he knows the show really well, and it's just awesome. And then I get a week off in LA, and then I go direct a show in the Rocky Mountains at Rocky Mountain Rep Theater. Yes, which is like also vacation. So I'm like, bye, see you in August.
I want to always be in the Rocky Mountains.
Oh my God.
I love it.
It's the best. It's just like a little one-road town with a huge lake, and then 5 minutes into the Rocky Mountain National Park. So we go see the elk and the moose at night. It's great.
Okay, we're done with you bragging, Jess.
Oh, sorry.
We're done. It's just the most beautiful place in the world, and I get to be there and you don't.
Yeah, and I get paid to do that, so that's nice.
Yes. Getting paid to do vacation is the best.
Yep.
Rachel, what do you have going on?
Well, my husband and my 21-month-old daughter, we moved to the Berkshires where I met Jess 20 years ago. We were apprentices at the Berkshire Theater Festival, and we decided a couple years ago that we wanted to leave New York and move to the country. So we're now living in Great Barrington, and we won't really be going on vacation because we're in the process of buying a house.
Ooh.
That's super exciting, though. Have you been like looking around?
We actually were in like under contract. It's happening, so it's a little scary to say it out loud. But yeah, but Great Barrington is beautiful, and we have beautiful mountains and lakes, and so we'll be doing all the summer things locally because our money will be going to other things like furniture and stuff.
But you have like a new town to explore, which will be great.
Oh yeah, it's exciting.
Amanda, what you got going on?
Yo, Jess and Rachel, like that's so exciting. I've never even been outside, so like that's
how I feel.
They lock me in a cage and they say, "Write songs now." This summer,
honestly, my fiance produced Amanda's last show, and she actually did that to her. She locked her in a cage.
She did. That's where I stayed. So kind of coming off a high with the show closing last week. But Sammy and I, my writing partner, Sammy Horniff, we're working on another commission out in Omaha, Nebraska. Ooh. It's called The Break, and it's going to be a cool little musical about a woman kind of going through her midlife crisis. So we're currently working on that, and we're going to go out to Omaha and check it out and see what's going on out there in the Midwest. So I'm excited to get out of here and go somewhere where there's no body of water around.
Yeah.
And no, it's going to be cool. And then after that, we'll just see. Maybe I get to take a nap or something like that. That could be a cool day, Maybe fall asleep, outside on the beach and get a little crispy. So that's the hope.
Yes. Let's see. My one big thing, which is like kind of a big thing, I'm getting to have my bachelor party in August.
What are you doing?
We rented a Airbnb up in like upstate New York, by a lake, and we're just gonna go and like relax and drink and sit and probably get into some level of trouble, but it'll be good. It'll be nice and relaxing. I was like, I feel like when you live in New York, you can always go out to bars, you can always go do things, and like you don't get that time to like sit. And so like for a bachelor party, I didn't want to like go to Vegas and stay up till 3 because like, well, I could do that tomorrow if I wanted, but also like, I'm too tired for that. I feel like you get to a point, like I was out getting drinks with my fiance last night, and by like 10:30, we were both like, we were like 3 drinks in and we were like, it is time to sleep. It is too late. So guys, this week, Jess had a friend on Facebook who had been making some posts about what they call rat brain. And the whole idea with it is that as an artist, sometimes like, not as an artist, as a person with depression, sometimes you get to a place where you have this like complete kind of haze and lack of motivation because of your depression. And as an artist, that can be really difficult because your job is to create, and most of the time as an artist, you have to be very like self-motivated. You really have to make yourself work and make yourself get up and do things. And it's really kind of a disconnect. And so that's kind of what we're going to be talking about. Rachel, so you're a therapist. Can you kind of talk to us about the kind of motivational side effects that are spawned from depression and like why that happens in your brain?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's depression is really a whole body experience. It's an emotional, mental disorder, but also affects the body physically. I mean, people can have physical symptoms that literally prevent them from having the energy to get up and get out the door, get out of bed. So if you're struggling with getting out of bed, then certainly getting out and being creative and connecting with other people is extremely challenging. There's also, I mean, I know as an artist, I mean, I remember when I was doing more acting, you struggle a lot with self-doubt. I mean, I think that's a natural part of being an artist. And then that's what depression is often about, is like constant negative thinking patterns. And so that really feeds on itself, especially if you're kind of trapped in your own brain and not reaching out to people around you. So.
Yeah, I know that's something that I, as an artist, when I am in those kind of like depressive moods, my motivation goes out the window. Like it feels hard for me to get up off the couch, and I'll have that thought of going like, you've got to, Carl, like, you know, you have to do this, like, come on, just get up. But it's hard to even like literally like get up off the couch at times. Mm-hmm. Amanda, as like a writer, I'm sure that this at times has really like affected you.
Yeah, I mean, it knocks me out cold sometimes, you know? So when writing, you know, sitting down and writing sheet music, like it's all in your head, right? You're like, now I need to transcribe the whole thing. And it's a lengthy task. And when you are just down and, you know, kind of looking on social media and kind of having like immense FOMO, you know, when everything is going on around you and you're like, okay, well, I have to be stuck here tonight and, you know, do all of this. And it happens all the time. It's a constant stream of like being alone versus being with people. And I've always attributed to being an extrovert and being my best self around other people. So a lot of times when I am writing, it is isolating in a way that is fulfilling, but also leads to kind of more depressive and low moods.
Yeah. So Jess, I know when we were planning this week and I was like, you should come on, you kind of said that like, you were like, oh, well, you know, I don't really suffer from depression. So I don't know that I'm necessarily the best one to bring on. Is there, from like an outsider point of view, have you ever like, is there anything that is like interesting about this to you or foreign to you that like you have seen other people dealing with that you have not been able to necessarily relate to?
Yeah, I mean, I think, because I obviously was thinking a lot about this over the last couple of days because I don't suffer from depression and trying to figure out how I could contribute to the conversation. And I got thinking a lot about my parents. Both of my parents have passed away, and both of them suffered from depression, and my mom from anxiety as well. My mom ended up with alcoholism and died. My dad just fucking had a broken heart and struggled with depression for 5 years and then died. And with dad in particular, because he wasn't sick, like, you know, he wasn't struggling with an addiction. So like we were talking more during those 5 years. He was very, very upfront about it. Like because I didn't know it was happening. And then all of a sudden he didn't come out of his room one day when I was home over Christmas. And, you know, he was like, I'm trying really hard and I cannot like get myself out of the room. I'm just sad and all the things. And it was so important and helpful that he said that to me. Like the day he said that to me, right, I could approach the situation with much more clarity and focus. And that's really what came up yesterday. I was talking to Brian Myers Cooper, who's in my cast, about it. What came up between us, because he, with that in mind, is that, like, I think what we do at the Give Back concert for survivors of violence and how I feel about addiction, it's really helpful and important to have advocates and allies who, you know, are saying publicly, don't worry about talking about this out loud. You know what I mean? It's not a failing on your part. It's not a thing that just happens to you. And I will be there by your side to like make it not weird and awkward, because I think it seems like it's very important to be able to talk about it, to not have that shame surrounding it. I don't know, Rachel, you probably know more about it than me, but
no, definitely. I think, yeah, isolation is really, really dangerous when people are having depression. And a lot of that isolation comes from shame. And I think also as an artist, you want to, like, I think you were saying, Amanda, like things about wanting to present like you are successful and you are doing well. And nobody wants to admit that they're struggling. It's hard. It's hard to say that. But just being able to voice like, I can't do this, and have people listen to that and respond to that is so important. And I think it's been talked about a lot with the recent suicides that happen in the media, but this idea of not putting it all on the person who's suffering with depression to reach out, but that others around should be noticing and talking to people and checking in with people.
So that's a question that I have. How do you act as an ally to, you know, like if you notice someone struggling, how do you, what are some ways, Rachel, that you know that are helpful to like try and bring someone, you know, back out of those dark places?
Yeah. Well, I think just number one, just accepting that this is something beyond their control, you know, and understanding that if they could snap out of it, they would, of course. So just being, showing a lot of empathy and understanding and saying, I get that this is something that you're going through right now, and that you know, I'm here. I think just simply, I'm here. You know, I think a lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to say. You don't really have to say anything. It's just letting people know that you're there and that you're there to listen when they're ready.
I have a question. Is there like, I don't think maybe this is for you, Amanda, but you know, like for instance, I was thinking about your story. Like you're at home on a Saturday night, like we're good friends, you're working on, you know, your music, and I don't realize, like, are there things that I can look for? Do you know what I mean? As a friend, as an ally, where I need to know like, hey, I should send a text and just, you know, check in and say hi. And maybe the answer is no. I don't know.
The answer is, I mean, I have the tendency to not immediately text back, because I think that is symptomatic of depression and depressive moods. You know, it's like, okay, these people are reaching out, but I am not in the mental space to.
It feels overwhelming.
Respond. So I'm gonna wait until I'm in a better mental place to respond, and then sometimes I don't, and it's not purposeful. It's like the intention is always to respond, and I think a double check-in is always good. You know, like if you know, it's just like a little blip. It's like, oh, hey, did you get my last text? You like, you good? You chill? Like, you wanna hang out or not? You know, I think never being afraid to check in more than once. I think that's probably super helpful.
And coming to it from an area of like truly just trying to check in, you know, like I definitely have had friends at times that have been pushy and are like more upset that I haven't responded to a text, something like that. And that's not necessarily helpful, but doing just like a, hey, BB, you all right? Like kind of thing is much different, obviously.
Do I type that HEYBB?
BB. BB or BEBE are both acceptable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you gotta keep it casual. Real casual.
Right.
Amanda is using the term casual, which she knows is the name of one of her singles, which is my favorite Amanda D'Archangelis song. And every time I literally hear the term casual, I'm like,
I was not trying to do that. Oh God.
So Patty Mirren wrote a big article about being an artist and dealing with depression and anxiety that I think has been wonderful to really like bring light to this subject in our community, because I feel like we talk about, like, I feel like everyone I know who's an artist deals with a level of depression, a level of anxiety, but yet somehow, like, I feel like there's still not that education, like that deep understanding of it. Because like people are like, oh yeah, I'm sad too. And they are like, but there's still that lack in these situations of like sending someone a text and things, there's a lack of understanding and a lack of grace that goes with it. That's so strange to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you, I don't know, it's weird to see people dealing with it themselves, but not able necessarily to relate to others, which is always difficult because we just like are always in our own brain.
I feel like a lot of, well, at least from an outsider perspective, I now I'm like, fuck. Like, I don't know when it's happening. Do you know what I mean? Like, for instance, like when we deal with stuff with Broadway Unlocked, right? And I've got, in my brain, I've got deadlines, I've got stuff that has to happen. It's dependent on people. And I don't have a very clear way if we're not talking about this out loud, right? It feels like everything comes back to be clear and be open and be receiving of the information. Because if I don't know that someone is suffering from depression, my brain's just like, this fucking person's flaking out on me. They're ruining my life. Like, fuck.
So for instance, to give like a little backstory, I'm a very truthful person. So I like telling things from my life. A few weeks ago, we were working on an episode and like things sort of fell apart. And some of that was my fault because I hadn't prepared enough. And after like we were trying to clean up the mess a little bit, Jess was like, look, this really can't happen. This has to, work and things like that, which it does. And I eventually was like, hey, you are right. I messed up. I also had a panic attack 2 nights ago that like kind of wiped me out. And for me, if I had a panic attack, that means that the week before it was building up. That anxiety was already spinning every day. And I was like, I need to set things in place so that I don't get caught up and like I don't lose out. Like if I have these systems in place that can protect me from, those times where I'm not working at my best, I need to have those. But for this week, that's what happened. And I think that being honest and telling your truth to the people you work with and the people around you helps just to get you all on the same page. Like it's not asking for pity and it's not like making excuses. It's just like creating some understanding around the circumstances, which I feel like is important.
Right, because I felt fucking terrible because I've known you since 2012 and I had no idea that you suffered from anxiety and panic attacks, which I'm familiar with because of my parents. And I was like, oh my God. Oh no.
And for me, it's been something that's been like it's happened more lately than, and I say lately as in over the last like year to 2 than like when we first met.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly with me it's depression that is derived from anxiety. Like I will sit and just spin on something, one small little thing that I did, and get so upset and so anxious and twisted up that then I feel crippled by having to do the work around me. And so it goes in waves. Like I'll be fine for 2-3 weeks and then I'll have 3 or 4 days where I'm just like kind of wrecked on it. And I feel like you have to, like when I said that, Jess was like, not necessarily like, okay, well, don't worry about doing any work for the shows.
No.
But she was like, okay, I see where this came from. Let's make sure it doesn't like we can fix it for next time, which I feel like is super important.
I think that one thing that you're pointing out is the importance of prevention. And I think like you're explaining, people who deal with anxiety and depression, it goes in waves and you have times where you're doing okay. And I think it's about those times when you're doing okay to have some plans, and to talk to people around you and just say, hey, when I start going down or I start struggling, this is what, so you've already had the conversation when you're in a better place. So then when something comes up and starts to overtake you, you can reach out and say like, hey, I'm going down. We need to execute the plan we talked about,
right.
Yeah.
Amanda, so you have you work with a writing partner, but multiple writing partners.
Yeah.
Have you dealt with this either like with yourself and your needs, or even like your writing partners? And how have you guys worked with that? Oh, sorry. You work with writing partners. Have you dealt with this with struggle to work with them when it has been your own like needs from depression, or even theirs? And like, how'd you work through it?
Absolutely. I mean, working so intimately with people, like spending most of your days with someone, it's a relationship, you know? So a lot of times, I think at this point now, we can kind of see it in each other. Like, okay, I see you're a little off today, or like it's been a couple days in a row, and being able to kind of track that together and being open and honest about it. But you know, we always take time in our day and in our writing sessions to debrief and talk about how we are and talk about ourselves. And I always think that's a really good springboard to kind of figure out where your head is for the day and move forward depending on the mood, you know. But it's definitely something when you're with people so often, you kind of see it more, and then you can kind of recognize, you were just saying, the patterns and like understanding the buildup. And sometimes it's still sneaky. Sometimes, you know, it's still just like, oh, wow, I had no idea that I was going to, you know, crack today. But here I am, and I have, and, you know, can't meet up. Got to go to bed. But most of the time, I think now I'm very lucky. We've kind of gotten into a flow where we can understand each other and really know where we're at emotionally and mentally. But yeah, we deal with it all the time. Like every day we have to, you know, debrief and figure out where we're at.
The director of the show that Jess is doing right now was a professor at Missouri State while I was there. And I would think she's still doing it, but I'm kind of wondering. She did check-ins with us before class.
We're doing it in the show. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that process?
Yeah, sure. It's really interesting, right? Because I mean, well, if you know Peter and the Starcatcher, it's an ensemble show and it's super generative and devised, right? So we, in like 2 very short weeks, are devising a show. So it requires an extraordinarily fast process to become an ensemble, particularly because none of us knew each other, or most of us don't know each other. And one of the things we do every day at rehearsal is sit down in a circle, and it's literally, today I feel blank. And I've found it very interesting because I naturally, and this may be just because I'm older as well and have been around the block a few times, I have to set my intentions and moods for the day. Do you know what I mean? So I always personally find the thing that is positive in some way that's true, and I say it. But it has been really interesting to like hear, today I am dark and crunchy, or today I'm sad and disappointed. You know what I mean? And yeah, it is. And there's something I think really cool. It's one of my favorite things about theater, right? And being a theater artist is that doesn't mean like it just is. And then we get into rehearsal and they fucking are, you know what I mean? Proceed with their job with joy and zeal and creativity. But we're all aware, and that's helpful, that like there's some other stuff going on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think I always have loved this. And I think that it really just gives an opportunity to be like, to realize that someone is dealing with some shit that day. You know, because like the 2 things she doesn't allow you to say is you're not allowed to say that you're tired or hungry, because as artists, everyone's always tired and hungry.
Look at my bags.
Literally. But like that person who every day up to the week before then has been like, I feel energetic. I feel happy. I feel excited. Something might have happened to them last night, which could really alter their mood really quickly. And to have the moment to hear them say, I feel really defeated, makes you go, okay, you know, like they're going to be more sensitive to my notes. They're going to be more sensitive to, you know, anything that I'm doing, which really just creates a wonderful way to literally check in, which I think is awesome.
I wanted to mention, so back to like the original genesis of this episode was my friend Luke, who is the creator of the Apartment Sessions. If you've watched it on Facebook or
I love
YouTube,
Luke.
dude, he's amazing, right?
Luke's a good pal. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Good.
So
Amanda worked at Hershey Park with Luke.
Sure did.
That's
Good old
amazing. So Luke, so I had been watching, this is a side story, but just because I want people to pay attention to this guy because I think he's so talented, right? I had been watching the Apartment Sessions for a long time. Someone introduced him to me to be the drummer at the Give Back concert, and he said yes. And I was like, oh, Luke McGinnis is going to be our drummer. That's amazing. And now he's coming to work with me in the Rockies, which is so exciting. But one thing that I thought that was really interesting about his posts last week about Rat Brain was the way he used creativity to help break it up, right? And so I just went back to try to find a couple of those posts, and one of his posts, he was like, I've had some time off. I've been spending it in depression bed, right? Like can't get out of my bed. So I made myself do he used the acapella app to make an Iron and Wine cover. You know what I mean? With like a 6-part harmony Iron and Wine cover, which is something he could do from his bed by himself, but that helped break up that cycle that I feel like you guys maybe are talking about a little bit. And so I'm just kind of like curious about, I think twofold, the mechanics of that, right? From a therapy point of view, how that works, and like practically, like is that something you do, Amanda? Do you know what I mean? Is that something that helps? All of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely try. So scattered about my apartment are, tons of instruments. And a lot of times when I'm in a rut, I'll pick up one of them and I'll just jam. I let myself jam for 15 minutes. I just say, Amanda, give yourself 15 minutes to not think and enjoy the music and not as work. Just enjoy, love it again. Give yourself 15 minutes to just love it again and not have any sort of resentment towards the work. And I think that's a really big thing and a really big contributor to a lot of the, kind of down moods is that, you've taken what you've loved and you've turned it into work. And then you have to find a way to separate that out again and say, okay, well, I love this. This is like my love. And how do I find time to enjoy it again and also be able to work on it efficiently? So I understand what Luke was doing there and being like, I love this song and I don't have to do this for anything or anybody, but I want to sing Iron and Wine in 6-part harmony. I'll do the same. I'll do the same thing. I'll open up GarageBand and I'll record myself ×10 and, I'll have a thing at the end of half an hour and I'm like, cool, I did it. That made me happy. Back to work. But definitely I think the separation and reminder of why you do it and why you love it, I think is so important on a regular basis, because you can get so lost, just so lost in the stream of work, and that gets you down.
Rachel, can you talk about how that works from how you would instruct people you're working with, to be able to do that?
Yeah. Well, I use, because I have my background as an artist, I definitely use a lot of creative arts therapy in my work. So there's definitely a lot of research, more and more research every day supporting it, that's really is effective working with people with all sorts of mental health issues, but definitely with depression, definitely with anxiety. One thing that comes to mind is there's a term in positive psychology called flow. And it's been studied and flow is basically when you're immersed in an activity where you lose all sense of time. And there's been research done on how if you find that activity, whether it be making music, making art, where you're in the flow, it can really help improve your mood. And one thing that also has come to mind that I've done with people before is that, and I've experienced myself, is that if you're working in your primary modality or primary art, you might be more apt to be self-critical and be like for me as a singer, it wouldn't be very relaxing to sing because I'd just be listening to my voice and judging myself. But I find visual art and painting very relaxing, and I can really easily just let go of self-judgment and just be in it. and get a lot of insight out of the experience too, and kind of things in my unconscious brain that come out and give me more information about what I'm going through and how to help myself. But.
Yeah, when I first started, like when I had my first panic attack, I remember like calling my sister, who like had dealt with a lot of this, and I was like, I just don't know what to do. I'm so sad, you know, things seem so hard, all these things. And she was like, you need to find, like, among other advice, she was like, you need to find one thing that you do solely for yourself that makes you happy. Is that, you know, she was like, preferably it can be like something that'll take about 30 minutes so it doesn't take your whole day. But, you know, like, is that to take a bath? Is that to go on a walk? You know, is that to make a 6-part a cappella version of Iron and Wine? What is that for you, you know? And I think that it is really helpful to, like, you know, like, you can't just on days that you're depressed take the whole day to do what makes you happy, because like that'd be like 3-4 days a week. But you have to be able to find those things that like clear your mind a little bit and like help recenter you on like, life's not that as bad as my brain is telling me that it is.
Correct.
Which is hard.
Yeah. And again, going back to prevention, like creating those rituals for yourself. I think rituals that you do on your own, and also maybe rituals that you do with your community, whoever that community is, so that when you get stuck in something, it's easier to just go back to it. Like, okay, I have my Sunday morning running group. I go there every Sunday. Let's just go, you know, whatever it may be.
Yeah, that's a piece of advice that I always gave to young artists moving to New York City, is that like you need to have your people that you see about once a week who care about you, and you don't have to like put up that theater front of like, oh my God, guys, it is so good to see you. I went to so many auditions this week. Like, all you have to do is be like, hey guys, this week fucking sucks. And they're like, yeah, it does. Like, let's sit around and eat Cheetos, you know, like, and having those people that you see on a frequent basis, when you first move to the city, when you can be feeling depressed, is the same as like when you are depressed, having those people that you can turn to who aren't going to judge you and aren't gonna like make you feel bad for being sad. They're just gonna be like, yeah, I'm sad too. Come sit on the couch. We'll watch a movie.
That's my favorite thing to do. Just a good couch sit is enough for me. It's enough to like press reset and be like, I'm with my humans. Like, yeah, to run around, just like, let's put on.
Yeah, 100%.
Forgotten B.
Did
I cut out?
Yeah, but
yeah, a little bit. What were you saying at the end?
Oh, I was just talking about how a good couch sit with your buddies watching Catfish sometimes is just enough. Just enough to get you through the next 3 days.
There's some wild shit on Catfish. Oh, boy. Oh, man. That is my fiance, Kelly. She loves that show. And there are times where I watch it and I'm like, what are these people? What is happening? Oh boy, there's some like psychological studies to be done on that show by itself.
I know, it's crazy. So
I wonder, I'm like, I guess a question aside from the like tactile and like mechanical part of like dealing with depression as an artist, right, is like, fuck, kind of like with that Patty Murin thing, when it's literally your job to make things or to be on stage 8 times a week. You know what I mean? Happy. Right. To be right. Or to be functioning. Right. Yeah. Like when you're in rehearsal for a show that's on a contract where there aren't understudies, I can't miss a day of rehearsal. Well, that is seems to be at conflict for artists in particular with self-care and all these things that we've been talking about that are helpful in breaking up depression. Like, what happens when you're in a situation where you cannot employ those tactics by nature of your job, you know?
I don't even know. Like, how do you deal with that when you're the only person, right? You're the only person that could do the job, but you can't even fathom showing up. I think honesty is the best policy there. Like, don't hide the fact that like you have try to push through, but I mean, how much can you try and push, you know? I think just like being as candid as possible and telling everyone, I had a hard time getting up. I am so sorry I'm late. I will be there and I will, you know, try and be present. Or you know what, like try and manage this day without me. But I can't even imagine, you know, being in a show and being the only human being that could really fill the role. I guess just trying to be honest, just being candid. That's the only thing I could imagine being helpful. But I'm not really sure.
For me, I feel like go ahead, Rachel.
Well, I was just going to say too, taking the pressure. I understand what you're saying too, but also sharing the responsibility that also directors and people around these people should, you know, lifting the stigma off of this. You know, that this is a real disorder and this is a real thing that people are dealing with. And placing any kind of shame or judgment on top of that is not going to be helpful. So just more, and it's a bigger thing because it needs more acceptance in our entire society that this is a real thing that people might need to take a day off to deal with. That mental health days aren't just like a silly phrase, like it's a real thing. So I think on both sides, people being able to say, I need a day, and the people that are hiring them also getting that, like, that is just as important as taking a day for a cold, you know, if not more so.
Well, because it could lead to a cold too. Like, you know, with these depressive moods, like you can just like spin yourself into this like dark place and then end up being physically ill. Like you were saying, it's all connected. So you have to treat each of them equally because they can all lead to physical distress.
Or if like your director was saying, the check-in, like being able to show up and have an understanding that you might not be 100% today, but that's okay. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're okay. To me, one of the things that like I try and do, which is like not always easy and doesn't always work, but is to like remind myself that like my brain's playing tricks on me and that like everything's going to feel better at some point, which like can help to like create a light at the tunnel, even if you can't see it. And so like for a show, it can be like a level of, okay, I just have to get through the next 3 hours. I just got to show up and then I can have my time. Then I can be okay. Things like that. And then also I think that, you know, like in voice lessons, they teach you how to have the technique so that when you are not at your like full voice and your best condition, that you can still get to where you need to be. And I think that what Rachel was talking about earlier with creating those steps that you go through to get yourself back in a better mental space, that's exactly what that is it's technique for your brain. And I think that, you know, you're not always going to have 2 hours to be able to do it, but like, if you're really struggling, people can give you 30 minutes, you know? And I think that that's one of those things that if you say, hey, I'm in a real bad spot, I just need 20, 30 minutes. I have these things that I do, and then we're going to give it a shot after that. You know, like, I think that that can be really important to just be able to sit and like get yourself back in whatever process that is for you.
And I think that's so important, not only like on a personal individual level, but also for the culture of artists, right? Because if you're a student of theater history, for instance, we talk a lot, right, about the pervasiveness of mental health issues with artists from Antonin Artaud all the way through Spalding Gray, right? And it is extraordinarily pervasive. In this episode, and prepping for this episode got me thinking a lot about like, perhaps that's because the nature of our job perpetuates, right, like us not being able to care for ourselves when that stuff happens. And like that must be connected to why there are so many artists who we know have struggled with or succumbed to mental health issues. And it's really important to find ways to make sure that doesn't happen to you, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely an era of like, if you have that day or that issue that like you're letting everyone down. Like you're letting down a theater of however many hundred or thousands of people. And like for Patty Mirren, who's doing Broadway and doing Frozen, I'm sure that she feels immense pressure to be able to go out and give that joy to those little girls and boys who are coming to see the show.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, I think that there is that stigma in our industry of like, if you are having this day, you're A, losing money for people, and B, you know, letting down audience members and, you know, making the life of your castmates harder. You know, there is that pressure and that stigma.
No.
Which is tough.
But I think the more you have conversations like this and normalize it and show that how many artists are dealing with the same thing, then it makes people feel less alone in it, you know.
Someone just said that in the comments in Facebook. An actor in Oklahoma or Australia, I forget where she is right now, but yeah, she said that exact thing. Thanks for having this conversation. I don't feel so alone.
Yeah, good.
Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us. Even if we just had one person who said that they don't feel so alone, I feel like we did our job today, which is really cool. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us. Audience members, thank you for joining us. Everyone, thank you for giving us your Sunday morning. And we will, we got some more announcements. I mean, it's the same announcements. I just repeat them. Coming up here in just like 30 seconds. So watch them, and we'll see you guys in August. Okay? Bye. Guys, thanks for watching. That is the end of season 1. We're gonna take a little break from this. We're gonna go to the beach for like 6 weeks, just like really relax, you know, get back in touch with ourselves. And then we're gonna come back in August and do this all over again. Not the same episodes, we're gonna do new episodes, new guests, new topics, the whole shebang. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting us. We're going to be putting out some of our best episodes out as podcasts. That's right. We're making the breakdown into a podcast. So make sure you're paying attention to this channel. We're going to be putting it all out there. We're going to be giving you all the information. So don't disappear completely. We're still going to be here. And we will see you back in August for these live shows. I can't wait. Thanks, guys. See you later.